Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the third and final installment of our current Enterprise Solutions webinar series called Happy User, Happy IT, where we've been focusing on digital employee experience and how that can improve the user experience, make the users happy, and reduce the amount of noise that IT teams have to cope with. In the first webinar in our series, we focused on defining what DEX is, how organizations can reach DEX maturity, and on tools that were available to measure the employee DEX. In our second webinar, we focused on building a solid platform for your employee environment to ensure that they have a good DEX. So we had guest speakers from both Microsoft and Nutanix there to talk about that. And we're taking things up to another level today to the actual end user itself. And we're going to be talking about how AI can be used to improve the user experience, increase their DEX, and again, make users happy. And if users are happy, IT are happy. I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon by Guido Marchetti from Microwarehouse. So Guido, if you'd like to go ahead and introduce yourself there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Guido, and I work with Microwarehouse. I am the channel lead for Modern Workplace and Security, and underneath Modern Workplace now falls Microsoft's new AI set of tools, which I'll be talking to you guys today about. I have over 20 years experience working in the ICT arena, stretching across all levels of technology. Some were really clever, and some were absolutely terrible. But this AI one is really, really good, and I'm looking forward to chatting to you guys about it today.
Yeah, so just to set the scene there, Guido, it's something that we've kind of been bombarded with over the last, I would say, 12 to 18 months is, you can't look left or right at any product, but it's AI, AI, AI. And
Yeah.
it started with ChatGPT, and you're going to be talking about Copilot today.
Yeah.
For folks who are struggling to get a grasp of what this all really means, if you could just set some context around, how AI is feeding into the Microsoft ecosystem, and what exactly a Copilot is and how they're trying to position it.
Yeah, it's a great point you make, and I think, Shane, you're absolutely on the money. Everywhere you look, there is AI integrated into everything. I think Samsung's latest smartphone is an AI-enabled smartphone. I have no idea what that genuinely means, but we are seeing it everywhere. It's very easy for customers to get lost in a tidal wave of AI noise. And I suppose when we scale it back to Microsoft's interest in that, I don't know anybody who follows this over the last 12 to 18 months like I have been, you will have seen a lot of news. ChatGPT was obviously the big addition to this. That came to the market with a generative AI model, which effectively is a model that's been trained to take a prompt or a set of instructions, and then it's connected to databases of information, for example, like the internet, and it's been trained how to structure sentences. That's effectively what we have seen. And this evolution of technology combined with the connectivity, everybody's connected to the internet, everybody has access to a smartphone, everybody has access to a PC, a laptop. It actually led, so when we look at the internet, it took the internet, I think, from memory, close to 10 years to hit 100 million people. It took Facebook, I think it was about 4.5 years to hit 100 million people. ChatGPT hit 100 million people in 3 months.
Wow.
So this is the excitement around this. And Microsoft invested hugely into this. They invested 10 billion into ChatGPT themselves. And with that investment, then they effectively bought into the IP behind that particular platform and technology, and then went off and worked in partnership with ChatGPT to create what we are going to talk about today, which is their Copilot offering that brings the power of that artificial intelligence and large language model into your 365 environment, connects it with the relevance of your data, and allows you to do things quicker and faster.
Okay, sounds good. So I think you're going to take control there and run through a couple of slides for us on this.
Yeah. What I'll do is we'll start with kind of setting the context of what Copilot is. There will be a couple of topics we'll discuss, and I'll bring you through that. And then what I'll do is I'll show you some everyday use cases of Copilot. So I've been using Copilot now for close on 4 months. It got launched to the general public very sneakily by Microsoft back in January of this year. Up until that point, there was minimum buy-ins. So they officially launched their Copilot product as an early access service to a very select group of global organizations. They had to buy in at a minimum of 300 seats, and that's not cheap when you look at all of this. And ultimately, those early adopters kind of helped Microsoft shape then what became the general release or general availability, which they did overnight without any pre-warning. We all woke up on a Tuesday. I'll remember it well, that we all woke up on the Tuesday morning, and basically Copilot and AI was available for all. So I'm going to talk you guys through Copilot from Microsoft 365. Now, do bear in mind that when you start to search just Copilot, Microsoft have a huge amount of Copilots now. So you would be forgiven for thinking they're about to start an airline, because there's lots of them. So we're going to focus in on one I think that is most prevalent to most organizations, which is the Copilot that integrates into your Microsoft 365 or Office 365 environment. And the way that Microsoft are positioning this for us is they're talking to us like this is our AI assistant in our pocket. And it's designed to enable you to work quicker, work faster, and just get the monotony of work with these tasks that we generally put to the bottom of our to-do lists. These things that we all dread doing. I know, Shane, when we're talking to you guys about marketing activities with Connor, one of the big bugbears is content creation for marketing activities. This takes all of that trouble away. And again, in the demo, I hope to show some useful use cases that will resonate with certain people, hopefully, as we go through things. So let's kick on and let's talk about the fact that the age of Copilots has arrived. And as I mentioned, Microsoft has now got a Copilot for everything. And really, I think the age of AI has really arrived. We started to talk about this even when it was in its early access stage to partners, to start getting them aware of this and to start kind of seeding the conversation. Because at this stage, coming back to the 100 million users of ChatGPT, we were hearing from customers of all different sizes. They were beginning to play with these generative AI tools, and lots of things are being done with them. And of course, the concern that you have as a business is, if it's not integrated, if it's not safe, if it's not secure, should we be putting our information into it? The reality of the situation is we probably shouldn't be. So Microsoft have really accelerated this safe usage path for AI through their Copilot platforms. And I'll talk about some of those things as we move through the deck. But when we think about this age of AI, I remember in those early conversations, I was the person stood at the top of the room saying, I genuinely believe this is Microsoft's iPhone moment. Now, some people sniggered and some people laughed. And much to my delight over the weekend, I seen an article on Forbes where all of the Wall Street intelligent people are basically now saying the same, that they believe this is potentially Microsoft's iPhone moment. This technology is one of these things that is going to disrupt. It may take time to disrupt, but I think the difference with this, even mobile phones took, I think, from memory, and I have a slide, I'm pulling all of this from a slide in my head, but I do have a slide that I can share with Shane and the team to share with you guys. I think smartphones hit 100 million users after 6 years. When we compare that to what GPT did, the fact that we're connected to the internet, the fact that we're all overwhelmed with work, the fact that the only thing that could potentially buy us time is one of these Copilot agents is a very compelling reason for customers to be looking at that. And we are beginning to see this early adoption piece. So when we look at Copilot for Microsoft 365, as I've mentioned, the idea behind this is it's to help you get on top of your workloads, increase your productivity, and also help you with that creativity side of things. What happens when you've got a new idea for your business? What happens when you're looking to generate new content, whether it be for marketing, whether it be for a job role, whether it be a proposal that you're doing to try and win business? There are lots of things we create in our day-to-day lives, and we don't think about it. Some of us try to do clever things, like we create a sales template, for example. Shane, I know this is something I used to do when I was in your role. I would have to issue so many quotations. What I did was, in Word, I would create a 20-page document. And then inside of that document will be partner name, which my name will go into. And then there will be customer name, which my customer's name will go into. And that allowed me to turn things around quicker. But I still also had to put the context from meetings into that, because if I was sending that to Shane as a proposal and I was merely giving him a template, he's going to look at that and go, this is just a bloody template. He didn't listen to anything I said. So I needed to trawl through my notes separately. I needed to bring that context in. Whereas Copilot is offering us a tool that will help us do that, because it's not only bringing the power of the large language models that we talk about now. It's connected to your data. So something behind your Office 365 environment is called the graph. And the graph is connected to all of the data points that you have access to. And it can see data that is sprawled everywhere. I know a challenge I have is I continuously forget where I've stored information. I don't know whether it's in SharePoint. I don't know whether it's in Teams. I don't know if I emailed it to somebody. I don't know if it's in my OneDrive, my G Drive. It could be anywhere. And the reality of it is finding information is really difficult. That starts to change again with Copilot. It has actually now, I can't believe I'm saying this, it's actually become my default search tool. So no longer do I default to Google. Even when I'm looking at the internet now, and I've got partners like yourself, Shane, that would ask me questions, right? That in all essence, you could probably Google, right? But you come to us with these questions, and I have no issue helping and assisting. But I have found I actually am now going into Copilot, and I'm going into the web version, which you'll see in the demo, and I'm asking it to find me the information I'm looking for, because while Google is doing a certain amount, Google is also tainted insofar as people are paying to have their information surface to the top. So immediately, depending on my browsing, it's tainted. Whereas if I go in and ask the AI to look for information, it trawls hundreds of pages instantaneously and comes back with the information. And not only does it come back with the information, it starts to structure it into text, into tables, whatever it is I ask it to do, it will do for me. Now, you do, of course, have to check what it comes back. And I will have no issue saying to people, on one or two occasions, I've asked it to identify features of certain products that I know like the back of my hand. And I've spotted a couple of issues. As a matter of fact, I was asked to review something that was given to a customer yesterday by a partner who's competing for a bit of business. And I could tell instantly that what the customer had received was drafted by Copilot. I could tell by how it was structured, how it was written, the fact there was a conclusion at the end. Who as a human being writes at the end of an email, in conclusion? I don't. Shane, do you?
No, absolutely not.
No, I don't either. But there were lots of telltale signs. But also what I found interesting is the person that generated it didn't take the time to sift through it, because there were some inaccuracies in it, which I then had to highlight to the customer to say, look, I'm sure the person didn't mean it, but this is inaccurate, this is inaccurate, and this is inaccurate. Because what's happening is the LLM is connecting to the internet. It's grounding itself in your context and your data. It's surfacing through your apps, and it's presenting the content. It's reasoning over hundreds of pages and then structuring information together. And much like we do, it will make an assumption or two when it sees a certain amount of information. And that's why it is important that when we create something, everything you create in Copilot will actually have at the end of it, generated by AI, check for accuracy. And that is a key piece. You must look to do that. This does not absolve us of doing our work. 100% I can tell you that it does not do that. But what it does do is it helps you get through things faster. You no longer have a blank page. You no longer have a blank email. You no longer have to put effort into absolutely everything. It can help you with a much better starting point. And again, the demo will show some of what I'm going to talk about there. So Copilot is transforming the way we work. And when we look at the early adoption, 60% of leaders say a lack of innovation is stopping them from generating new ideas in their business, right? 64% of those are struggling to find time and energy to get work done. And I think that's a common complaint. I mean, I don't know how many partners I speak to on a weekly basis, and I ask, how are you? And the general response is, I'm buried in work. I literally haven't a moment to breathe. Everybody feels like that. There's no question about it. And 70% of end users are saying to management and surveyors, if you could give me a tool that will help me get things done quicker, I will happily take it. And what we're seeing is the early users that were given this, and this was taken from the Work Trend Index. That is a live link. That is a service that Microsoft run and update. The Work Trend Index is run by Microsoft, MIT Sloan in the US, and another US college that I can't remember right now. It's one of the New York-based ones, and LinkedIn. These surveys are run across 34,000 people across LinkedIn. And these feedback here is 68% of people are saying when they're working with Copilot, it's improving the quality of their work. I am in that 68%. It is helping me look far more intelligent than I actually am. All right. 70% are saying it's making them more productive. Again, I would say I am in that bracket. Even yesterday, I had one of the most cynical partners I deal with admit to me that he is seeing value in Copilot. And I mean, he is cynical out the door, but he said, I have to admit, I see value. And then what's really interesting, and this same partner also confirmed, they have a small number of licenses in their organization. And he turned around and said to me, I've already been told by employees who have this, they would not want me to take it off them. And we are seeing that across everybody that gets access to it. Nobody wants to let go of it when they have it. So there are a couple of things that we'll talk about very quickly before I get into a bit of a presentation. There will be 3 areas of consideration for you to talk to enterprise solutions about when you're looking at this. Area 1 is going to be making sure the environment in which you're bringing the Copilot into is as secure as you can make it. And there are lots of different flavors of security. It's about what you as a business are secure with. The AI will inherit whatever security controls you put in place. Okay, that's the good news. You don't have to do a lot of work unless you absolutely want to. The next challenge then is discussing yourselves internally and with enterprise solutions about what AI at work looks like for your business. And I'll talk you through that. And then the final piece is this is a cultural shift. And this is one of the biggest challenges people are getting their heads around. We get partners and customers alike asking us, where do we start? How do we start? And I'm going to talk to you through how I think you should consider going. By no means take it as gospel. It's just my musings if I was in your situation. So let's talk about the security side of things. Everything we generally tend to see is these are examples of questions. Is my data safe? Is it secure? Am I able to see what people are using Copilot for, how they're interacting with it, what they're doing with it? Yes, you can. How do I avoid what we call overexposure of data? So how, because the AI is connected to the graph at the back end, how do I make sure it's not giving Shane information that Shane shouldn't see? Right? And that's a very valid question. And that will happen. We actually, in our own environment, had a very interesting thing highlighted to us when we initially started to pilot the first 3 licenses. We started to put senior personnel's names into the I nearly called it Chat GPT, into Chat 365, right? The interaction for me across everything. And you can just put someone's name in there. Give me the latest update from Shane. And we did that with our CEO. And it transpired that he was putting information in the wrong place. So he was storing just information that he thought was secure between him and certain individuals. But what was actually happening was that it was inheriting the parent rights of the folder, which should have given everything away, which was shared with everyone. So once we tracked that back, we were able to move the data out of there, and hey presto. So it can actually act as a great tool to help you understand gaps that you may have. And ultimately then, is my data processed? So does my information get used for training purposes, etc.? And you're going to see now, no is the answer. So Microsoft is taking this approach to build with security first and foremost. The more secure you make your environment, the more secure the AI will be. And what I mean by that is, if you have done the basic access management, i.e. Shane is in sales, Shane can access the sales site, he can access the account site, only a couple of elements of the account site. He can also access our general team site. He can access teams A, B, C, and D, but he can't see G, H, I, and Z because they're management ones. When you do that general look and basic access thing, that's inherited by default. If you then go down the compliance road and start to look at tools like the classification tools that become available in Business Premium or E3 and E5, if you want to start doing insider risk stuff, whatever you decide to configure inside of the environment, again, will be automatically inherited. And what we mean by that is, if you've taken the time to classify data as highly confidential, for example, and you then go and use PowerPoint and Copilot to create a new PowerPoint presentation for a management meeting that you're about to have using something that is classified as highly confidential, the AI, once you have access to that file, will be able to see it. But not only will it be able to see the information, it will also respect the fact it's highly confidential information. So when it then creates your new PowerPoint from the Word document you've just referenced, it will automatically apply the same level of security to the new file that is just being created. Again, inheriting and respecting the security and the control. Mm-hmm. Microsoft have built privacy into this by default, and they approach all the design of their products with a responsible ethical behavior. And I'm going to talk about that in just a couple of moments. So again, what we see is you control the gray box. You can control as much as is humanly possible. You configure, you work with enterprise solutions to configure whatever controls you want. You lock down your data as much as you want or as little as you want, entirely down to yourselves. In the gray box, that is down to yourselves. Outside of the gray box, Microsoft make the commitment to protect your data, which never means they never share it with the LLM. The LLM is not being trained using your data. It actually never leaves your environment. Just the context of it gets shared with the LLM. The LLM is not outside of Microsoft's data center. It lives inside of Microsoft's data center. So your data is always inside of the Microsoft bubble, and even more important, the EU data boundary. And Microsoft are also committed to designing everything with responsible AI. What that means is you cannot ask the AI to do illegal stuff, like, can you write me a malicious piece of code? It won't. Can you generate me an Xbox Live key? It won't. I've tried. I've even asked it to curse in the response of an email, and it responded to me saying, you probably shouldn't use language like that in business email. I was like, wow. So it is very, very good, and it will stay between the lines of what it's supposed to do. And please do feel free to stress test it yourself. If you do find any illegal activity it will do, please let me know. I do like to highlight this to Microsoft for giggle purposes. So you can see how it will automatically respect everything you're looking at doing. Now, this is a short video, which I'm going to let play. Shane, can you hear the sound?
No, Guido.
Okay. Can we optimize the share sound? Okay, I'm going to click play now, and you should hear it.
Compliance, privacy, identity, and responsible AI. Copilot automatically inherits your organization's Microsoft 365 security, compliance, and privacy policies, so you know your data is protected and always in your control. It all starts with your Microsoft 365 tenant. Data stored in your tenant is encrypted and only available to the users within that tenant. Your existing Microsoft 365 permissions and policies ensure that data won't leak between users and groups. And Copilot users only have access to data they've been granted permission to see in Microsoft 365, using the same technology customers have relied on for years. Your tenant sits inside the Microsoft 365 service boundary, where Microsoft's commitments to security, compliance, data location, and privacy are upheld. The Copilot large language models, or LLMs, that process your data sit within that same boundary, much like other Microsoft 365 services. Microsoft does not have eyes-on access, which means no one can view your data. Your data is not used to train the LLMs. And our EU customers can be confident that their data is processed within the EU data boundary. Microsoft 365 Copilot, enterprise-grade security and privacy for the era of generative AI.
I should really just play that video because it cuts me garbage talking for nearly 5 minutes.
So it's interesting because we obviously have got ourselves a couple of Copilot licenses, and one of the first things one of the guys did when he got them was exactly that: see if he was able to get access to data he shouldn't be able to get access to. And it was actually a great validation when he came back to me and he said, I couldn't get into anything. So that meant we were actually very well locked down.
And that is generally what most people are finding. There is a slight inertia before you start to turn it on. But then once you turn it on for a group of controlled and trusted users, you realize, oh, actually, we could let this out and we could start to see value of it. The challenge that you then face is, okay, who are we going to invest into this tool for? And what are the use cases we want to unlock? And we'll talk about that. You can work with enterprise solutions to find your level of security depending on the plan. And you can now attach Copilot to pretty much all of the Microsoft and Office 365 bundles. So Office 365 E1, E3, E5, Microsoft 365 E3, E5, Business Standard, Business Basic, Business Premium are all now in scope for Copilot attach. So you don't need to be upgrading your plans. The key difference is the number of different controls you can look to deploy. And again, you can work with your partner enterprise solutions to understand how far down those rabbit holes you want to go. Safe in the knowledge that whatever you configure, the AI will automatically inherit. It's not like you need to be telling it all about it. It will automatically see and respect any configuration work you do inside of your environment. That then brings us, I think, now to the AI principles. And I talked very quickly about this. Microsoft, as you heard, your data is your data. They do not use it to train. They are trying to build everything for inclusiveness. So a recent update quite recently for people that struggle maybe with typing or maybe have disabilities or lack the ability to use keyboards can now inside of Copilot click a microphone and speak to their PC and give the prompt using their voice, which is a huge leap forward. And again, something we've seen. Everything Microsoft do is completely transparent. You can go to trust.microsoft.com to read into any amount of information about what they do in terms of your privacy, your data, how they ensure the integrity of it. And one very interesting point, which was asked on a webinar I did to this quite similarly, is what happens if I end up in a copyright situation through something that Copilot generated for me? Microsoft are saying that anybody who's procuring Copilot through them in any form, they will go to court with you in the instance that someone tries to sue you for copyright. And they have publicly stated that, and you will find all of that there on the transparency website, okay? And that's how they're taking their accountability. So we've talked about security and the foundation. The next piece is AI at work. And again, we're talking about Copilot for 365. There are, as you can see either side, lots of different variants of it. We're going to focus on the Copilot for 365. This is another short video, just in case you haven't seen what Copilot promises to do.
Well, straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop. Stand still, that's the motto, yeah. Brand new bands for the auto, oh. Foot to the ground, full throttle. Big energy for the night like lotto. Y'all talk lots, never this quiet. Life like a Seinfeld plot. Vault full of songs, all of them bombs. Something like a minefield guy. Boom. Get it, tickets running out quick. Bet it, never get it out big. Said it, never had to shout it. They said I couldn't ever do it, okay, how's this? Fit a week worth of work in a minute. Machine well oiled, you know how I stay efficient. To-do list written, I do this different. Hold up, wait a minute, I ain't finished. Okay. Look, flows the same now. Paved the way to snakes and fakes are chased out. Back to back. I changed the pace now. Had to stack the cash until the bank's out. Straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop.
This promises to do a lot of things.
That's a lot. That's a lot there, Guido.
Yeah, it does. It promises to do a huge amount, and bit by bit, you start to see the value of it in each of those applications. The big challenge is you move from having a blank page in front of you to a blank prompt box. And in that is the key. You need to know how to prompt this engine. You need to know how to get the most out of it. And that's something we're seeing customers coming back to partners asking help for. Can you help us do that? So we are offering prompt clinics via our partners to customers that want to go on this journey to help you understand how to structure prompts and get the most out of this.
Because it's going to be a skill for people to actually learn to be able to do that.
It's a brand new skill, brand new skill. And even the prompts I put in are different to the prompts that my colleagues put in. And what we do is we've started sharing prompts that are wow prompts, right? So if you've got a prompt that's good and useful for you, great. But if you've got a prompt that makes everybody sit up and go, wow, you share that prompt with somebody. And we've done that. So we've been sharing kind of prompts to extract better information out of meetings, prompts to compare documents and do certain things. And I'm going to do that in the demo, right? So I'm going to show you guys some of that actually working in real time. What we see is, realistically speaking, we get asked, who is this for? And Microsoft have designed this tool to literally work for any end user that you can see value in. And I would obviously have a lot of insight into HR, finance, data and IT pros, sales, and marketing. So I work across all of them in my role. I can see use cases in absolutely every single one of them. And with the demo, I will try to bring it to life. Now, we will be sharing this slide deck afterwards. And in this particular segment of the deck, you can drill down into each one of these to get more insights into how Microsoft envisage it will help people drive productivity into their day-to-day. I won't dwell on it now because we'd literally be here half of the day going through each one of these. But I'll try to bring some of these examples to life when we move into the demo, which is going to be very, very shortly. What we are seeing is when you deploy this, Copilot users are far more productive. So we see 64% are saying they're now spending less time processing email. And what that means is they're using Copilot. So I know I often get CC'd probably last or second last when every other option has been explored and someone can't answer the question. It usually lands on my desk. And I generally, before Copilot, would have had to trawl through a very long thread of email, looking for context, looking for all of this. Whereas now I can actually just ask Copilot to summarize the thread of email and give me the key points. And it does it brilliantly, and it does it in seconds. So it will surface at the top a summary of the entire thread, identify the key players and who said what in what context, now allowing me to go, okay, fine. And now, even in a worst case scenario, if I need to drill into more, I now know Shane said X. I'm going to go to Shane's email. I'm going to read what he said because he's got the customer viewpoint. Everyone else just has an opinion. That's where the information is going to be found. We are also seeing, I don't like to use the word mundane tasks, but we are seeing it saves time on mundane tasks, i.e. draft me a blog. Some people find that mundane. Some people find that really exciting. I personally don't mind writing a blog, but some people find it quite mundane, right? Or even just responding generically to email questions, etc. Really, really good. Saving time on finding content. I mentioned earlier, it's doing that for me. It's helping me find information. If I'm a new starter in a business and I've been given Copilot and we've got a product or service, I can ask Copilot about that service. I can ask them, get me X information on Y. And then I can also ask, who's the best person? So depending on what you've configured in your environment. So if you've got, for example, Viva connections in your environment and people have taken the time to build out their profiles, and Shane, let's say, for example, I want to say the topic I'm researching is security. And Shane is the person in Enterprise Solutions to talk about security. And he's taken the time on Viva Connections to fill in his profile that where it says, what can people talk to you about or ask you about? Shane has highlighted security. If I'm using Copilot, it can see that information. It will serve Shane's name back to me to say, Shane is probably a person you want to speak to. And anyone else, Cormac might have also put it down on his. It might also say Cormac is someone to speak about. The biggest increase for people is they get from a blank page to a first draft 100 times faster, right? And you will see that in the demo. And that is huge. When you've got an idea and a concept, to be able to put something down in front of you to start working with and manipulate, it cuts things right down. This is a huge time saver.
The hardest thing is always getting that first draft down on paper.
Correct. Whereas now, once you've got a concept and you structure the prompt correctly, it will do a really good job. And again, I'll try and showcase that now. Finally, then, this is a cultural shift. Shane mentioned it. You got to learn new skills. You've got to focus and stop. When you have this at your disposal, instead of defaulting to your old behavior, you need to ask yourself, can Copilot help me with this task? Should I be checking to see if Copilot can assist me with this? And that's something that we took from a learning, because in our initial 4 weeks, we had a spike of people using it. And then that spike dropped off within a 2-week window, where we have 24 licenses deployed. And we went from 24 users in the first 1 to 2 days to, by the end of that week, it dropped down to about 16 active daily users. And by the end of week 2, it dropped down to 4 daily users, because everyone else had stopped going to it. 4 people were making the conscious decision to use it every day to help them do their job. Everyone else was defaulting back to their behavior.
And was that just kind of like a muscle memory thing? Where
it is. Absolutely. They just defaults. Questions are coming in. They were jumping onto Google. They were putting the questions in. They were trawling through all the information. Just ask Copilot. It will find the information. Right. Now I'll show you examples of this. Right. It's really, really clever. So it's just that change in your behavior. And that's key. This is a whole new way of work that involves new software and you enabling the use of that new software in your culture. You saying to the employees, it's okay to use AI. We want you to use AI, and we want you to share how you're using it. And that's a big challenge for a lot of companies. So where do you start, right? Who do we give it to first? Where do we get started? How do we get our employees and staff up to speed? And then how do we measure the impact? And these are all really valid questions, because this comes in at €337 per user per year. It's an annual subscription at the moment. So you have to pay for it up front, right? You can co-term it to existing agreements. So if you've got 6 months left in an agreement, you can co-term a Copilot license and you'll only pay for the 6 months. But ultimately, you do have to ask these questions. You've got to get to, are we going to see value? The way that we look at this is looking at your readiness, planning for your adoption, and doing some measurement. And we suggest you do this in a pilot. Right, we suggest that you do this in a structured pilot with someone like Enterprise Solutions, where you concentrate a number of licenses. If you've got, for example, 5 divisions, my advice would be consider taking on 2 licenses per division. And the reason I say 2 is what we are seeing is end user experience differs depending on the end user's technical capabilities and their tech savviness, right? And this is wonderfully intricate, because what then that happens is it shows you if, let's say, for example, in finance, you have 2 users, one user is finding huge value, the other user is not. That is not a technology challenge, that's a training challenge. And that allows you to highlight these type of long-term challenges. You should also clarify your quick wins as part of the pilot. Where are you going to see the return on your investment on this, right? So quantify that. And the suggestion then of create not an AI council, but certainly just an AI group where they can share their findings, how they're using it. Then you plan for adoption. So you do a planned rollout, and the measurement piece is also something your partner can help you with. We would suggest that we would work with your partner, in this case, Enterprise Solutions, to give you access to a Copilot champion. You nominate your own Copilot champion. And then over a period of 3 to 6 months, there will be calls between us and you guys to ascertain, are you seeing the value? Are we unlocking this? You start with just focusing on the power of it within your 365 environment. And when you're seeing that, then you can come back and start to ask questions, because you can connect this to stuff outside of the Microsoft cloud. You have connectors, you've got the ability to connect it into third-party tools with apps and plugins. That is all possible. But what I'm saying to end customers is, walk before you can run, because what we do find is we find people come to the AI table full of excitement and they have an expectation that's up here and the technology is about here. So we need to just level that out so that you don't have that that's not really very useful moment, right? We don't want that happening. We need to help you understand the value of it. Copilot Lab is something that is a great training tool that you can, when you roll this out, you will have access to Copilot Lab, and it will give you prompts that are designed by prompt engineers to try in your environment, but to also tweak. And you can also try your own prompts. And what's coming very soon is when you start to build your own prompts, you will actually be able to save them and publish them in the Copilot Lab to people inside of your organization. Now, this is a short video. I'm not going to play it because it'll probably just be confusing, but you can watch it back yourselves over some time. Finally, then, measuring impact will be quite easy, because when you enable Copilot, you will then by default enable the Copilot usage dashboard that will become available to you and can surface itself in Microsoft Teams, allowing you as senior management in your business to understand who is creating, as you can see here, rewriting documents, drafting documents, summarizing documents. You will get insights into the applications that is delivering the most value and what people are doing with it. And again, this is just designed to help you see, one, yes, it's being used, it's a good investment. And two, do we have training gaps? Are there areas that we need to focus on with enterprise solutions to address? Anything to add to that, Shane?
What I think would be interesting there, Guido, and I don't know if this is something that's quantifiable yet, like is, because senior leadership might ask is, how much time is this saving people?
That varies. So depending on the user, we've seen some people suggest that it saves them anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes a day, right? Depending on what they're doing. And then there are other individuals that are reporting in excess of 40 to 50 minutes a day being saved. I think the largest number I've heard is one Microsoft representative who did a presentation about 3 weeks ago to a partner group. They claimed they were seeing an hour and a half of their time being saved, which is huge, right? Like, you take an hour and a half a day being saved, like add that up over 5 weeks. That's a lot, yeah. Staggering. But even when you take something like, if this saves somebody 30 minutes a day and add that up over the course of a week, it's 2.5 hours a week being saved. That's a substantial chunk of time. And the more people start to use this, as I said earlier, the more use cases they find themselves, you start to find little hacks buried into it. This is just a couple of quotes here from an early access customer with Microsoft. Lumen is the organization. And you can see here their CEO believes that AI is going to be an absolute game changer. And they believe Microsoft are very much leading the way here. But what's interesting is what their end users are saying, right? So here you can see the field engineer. Copilot is my expert to educate me and solve problems in the trenches. So instead of him having to ring somebody, he's turning to Copilot when he's hitting a problem with a product on site, and he's asking Copilot those questions, right? And Copilot in this scenario could be connected to a database they have in their environment, or could be just connected to the internet and a database of information there, FAQs, all that type of stuff, right? Sales accelerates my tasks, giving me time back to focus on priorities and work and life. Well, that's what most salespeople would say, isn't it? But no, I can understand that, particularly with the task management piece. I've changed a lot of my behaviors in teams since Copilot has come along for that reason, because it's making things more efficient for me. And then finally, customer excellence, right? Copilot rapidly assists me to find answers without the struggle. So again, you see customer success people referencing Copilot to get information either from within their environment or again the internet. And this is really, really powerful, right? So you will find these use cases in your own environment. A couple of resources to leave you guys with to go off looking at when you get the deck. This is all linkable. How-to hybrid guides, playbooks for you guys, how to enable this user experience that the team and enterprise solutions are right to focus on, right? User experience is key. If the user experience is garbage, no matter how good the technology is, it's a failure from an end user perspective. If it doesn't help them on a day-to-day basis, and Shane and I we're in the industry long enough to have the pains and the scars of those type of situations where the technology was fit for purpose, but the end user experience was poor. So understanding that is key. I think it's a great topic of conversation that the guys are driving awareness around. The work trend index is something I would urge you guys as leaders of your organizations to keep a fingerprint on. It will give you great insights as to what's going on, the type of challenges from a HR perspective, from a management perspective, very, very good insights. And then the Work Lab is actually podcasts and thought leadership that is hosted by Microsoft. It's actually become one of my, I know it's cheesy for me to say, but it has actually become one of my favorite podcasts. It is done independently, and they have a lot of their senior leadership team that frequent that. They also bring in some really, really good guest speakers from time to time. If you're considering getting started, talk to Enterprise Solutions about your security and compliance concerns, right? Have those conversations. Don't make assumptions, right? Start thinking about how AI is going to create a whole new way for us to do things, right? And it genuinely is going to do that. Leverage resources that the guys have access to for adoption. So again, we call them, the terminology is after escaping my head. We call them clinics, for prompt clinics. That's what we call them. Utilize those type of things. The guys have loads of little one-pagers to help you and your end users get the most out of this. And most importantly, talk to the guys about a pilot. I can't urge that enough, guys. Taking the time to do it structured, to have metrics. If you do it that way, you will see success. If you view it as corporate jewelry, like an iPhone was when it first hit the scenes, and you just buy 1 or 2 licenses, I can promise you, you will struggle to find the use cases for this, because as senior leaders, we can assume we know what people do on a day-to-day, but we don't actually know the tasks that they execute on a day-to-day basis. So we do need to extend this to our team to get them to test it for us and then give us real feedback as to, is this worth an investment for us as an organization? Okay, would we like to see a quick demo, Shane?
Absolutely, Guido.
Okay, so let me just stop sharing momentarily and let me just change my share. While I'm teeing this up, Shane, do you have any questions for me on what I've spoke about there, or anything you'd like to add to what I've just said?
One of the questions that what I did see pop up was folks were asking, was there any way that you can pilot this or trial this? But I think you covered that off saying, no, it is an actual annual commit. You do have to pay for Copilot.
Yes, you do. Unfortunately, Microsoft are not piloting it. However, there is a flavor of Copilot that you may have already today. And let me start the demonstration with that particular one, okay? So the version that you may have, Shane, you might just confirm that you can now see PowerPoint, yes?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go to, here's a blog. Great, here's a blog. What you may have access to is you may have access to Copilot inside of Microsoft Edge. This is actually included for anybody that has a business standard, business premium, Office 365 E3, E5, or Microsoft 365 E3 or E5. You may just need to have your organization enable it. And because I've got Microsoft 365, I get the toggle bar there of work and web. You will not see that unless you've got Copilot for 365 license. But what you will see is you will see this, what they call Copilot chat window in Edge. Now, what this means is, as you can see, it's being powered by GPT-4+. I can say creative, I can ask it to be balanced, or I can be very precise. And in this case, what I'm going to show you is its capability here will be summarize this web page, please, and the blog contents. So I'm not arsed reading what Nicole Denson, head of Microsoft Partnership globally, has just written here. It says it's a 2-minute read, but I don't want to give it 2 minutes, right? Because it's going to be longer than 2 minutes. That's just an estimate generated by an AI. It's going to go off and it's going to look at this. It also is assuming I can read coherently. I can't. And it's going to here show us what it's talking about. So it's going to talk about the event of Ignite. MCAPS, which is a new acronym Microsoft introduced into my life 2 weeks ago, and I've just added it to my acronym dictionary because I've just lost count of the amount of them, right? You can see here it's giving us the key highlights, and it's also going on to say the blog is expressing gratitude to the partner ecosystem and looking forward to supporting all of that. Quite useful. Now, what I can do here is I can do lots of other things. For example, if I'm in marketing, I can come back up here. If I just get rid of, I've got a couple of things in my way here. I'm going to minimize this and bring you off over here. What I can also do is I can come in here and I should be able to compose. Where is my compose area? Can I move that bar? I can. There we are. Sorry, I couldn't see that just a second ago. So in Compose, again, a really clever element of this that is included in standard business premium. I can ask it to start doing things like even generating the email. So you can see here, I can ask for formats. I can stipulate it like a paragraph. So that would be like a blog type thing. I can ask for a LinkedIn post. I can ask for a summary. I can ask for bullet points, a report, or in this case, an email. And what I might do here is I might say, draft me an email to my MSP community. Spelling isn't overly important. You can make errors. It's okay. It will do that. So I'll say, draft me an email to my MSP community, highlighting the value of Copilot and generative AI in SMB Ireland. I might say reference articles from Irish press. So I've now given it some context, some additional context. If I wanted to, I could paste some information in here that I may have typed. I'm going to say I want this medium. And what it's going to do for me now is it's going to, I'm keeping it professional. I could choose to say casual or enthusiastic. And I'm just going to generate a draft. And it will go off and do this. Now, this is like a ChatGPT type of experience. Okay. So I'm doing this in a web browser like you would do with ChatGPT. I'm giving it a prompt like you would with ChatGPT. And as you can see, it's now giving me a subject header. It's drafting us up the bones of the email, and it's doing that in real time. And it's looking at outside context. You can see it's referencing Microsoft Ireland and Trinity College studies, which I have not even seen myself, right? Now, again, this is where you've got to track and you've got to have a look at, okay, what is it that I'm looking at doing? What do I need to reference? Now, you will see when it's finished, here, it will show you all of the reference sites that it took the information from, so you can drill into it to do your own research. Warm regards, my name, my position, my company. That's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely great. Now, what you can do here now is you can simply copy. And now what we can do is we can jump into Outlook, which is off over here. I'm going to click this, and I can say new email, and you can see I'm in the new Outlook, and I can now Control V. And now I've pasted that, or I should have pasted that. Why haven't you come across? Control V. There we are. So now we've got it in there. So we've gone from a blank email, right? And that's just the free version. So if you're just using the free version, and I should probably not call it the free version because it's not free technically, you are paying something to Microsoft to get access to that. But it does come included in a lot of plans that customers may have already today, right? So if you wanted to start there as opposed to a trial, I would suggest that is a great starting point. I would also suggest to you that if you decide to do a pilot of Copilot for 365 for maybe, let's just say 10 users to give them the power of what we're talking about in their apps, you start everybody else on this version of it because they can start to hone their prompts. They can start to get used to how they might use it in their day-to-day, and I let them have this experience for now. But you're edging towards, okay, if we prove there's value in this with the pilot, we're probably going to roll this out to a few more people in each of the divisions, and we're going to move them from this version of it into the full-blown version. And that's where the key differences start to appear. So you've just seen Copilot for Edge inside of the Edge browser, which again is included in Business Standard, Business Premium, E3, E5, Microsoft 365, and Office 365. It is not included in Basic, and it is not included in E1. Now, the key differences are when we jump back into Outlook and we say new email. Because I've now got Copilot here, you can see I can draft with Copilot, and I've now got a prompt box here. So I can, again, it's now inside of Outlook. So if I open up this prompt box here, we can take this particular prompt here. I'm just going to copy this prompt. I'm going to jump back into here. And now we can say, again, fine. Now what I'm doing here is, again, I'm pointing it to articles outside. You can tweak the options here, but I'm just going to click generate to see what it does. The difference being here is that creativity and power from the browser is now living inside of Outlook. I don't need to go to the browser to start this. I can do it from inside of here. And that's the really powerful thing. So you'll see here to create a draft, it will insert it, and it may not be, I don't know what it's going to generate here. Yeah, again, it's decent. Right, there you are. It's referencing. It's done. You can see here anything you'd like to change. Maybe AI generated. You're getting that. I understand it is. And you know what? I'm going to keep it. Now, we've just got a starting point. So we've gone from an idea
to a first draft. Yeah.
To a first draft in seconds with a couple of lines. All right. And that is really, really powerful. Another element of Copilot, it also lives up here. So again, inside of it, you can ask it to find something. For example, I can stay on top of, this is a suggested prompt, right? Summarize recent emails. If I click on that, it's going to go off. It's going to triage my entire mailbox, and it's going to look for things where I've been mentioned, and it's going to surface all of that right up to me. And again, this is saving me time from trawling through all of it, because to be quite frank, I get CC'd in a huge amount of garbage. And I do. I've no issue saying that. I get CC'd in a huge amount of garbage, and I don't need it. So this is now helping me sift through all of that. It's giving me context of what it is, and it's also linking everything with references. And you can see how quickly it's doing this. It's doing this at a speed I could not do. That's the reality of the situation, and everything is linked here for me. So as I scroll down, let me just, oh, where's my browser? There we are there. Thank you very much. Why aren't you coming any further down? Oh, I think I've broken my screen. There we are. You can see all of these are now here. So if I want to expand any one of these, I simply click, and it will open that email immediately.
That's powerful stuff.
Unbelievably useful. Absolutely unbelievably useful. Particularly, like I'm actually surprised there's only 10 emails. I went on lunch and I came back to 42 unread emails. Right? And I cleared that down before I got onto the webinar, and I'm back up by another 10, right? Like the average scale of it is absolutely mind-blowing. So that's just a couple of use cases inside of Outlook that are designed to be really, really helpful. Another element, I want to introduce you guys, this is what we call the Microsoft Copilot 365 chat space. And this, as you can see a history of queries and recent chats I've had with the AI. And you can see here, I can do lots of things. It can help me generate ideas, right? So for example, let's say somebody inside of your business is responsible for HR and social events, and they want to generate ideas, right? Here's one. List MFA for, yeah, don't worry about that. I can ignore that. List ideas for fun remote team building event. Ensure list contains innovative, engaging. There's the great prompt just given to me by the system itself. And now if I'm in that responsible role, I'm now using Copilot. It's going to connect to the internet because I've told it to do so. We've configured it that way. So that is an option that you have to enable. It's going to now start looking for ideas. It's also combing through meetings and any content in my environment. And it's now looking out to the internet. You can see what it's doing in real time. It's now looking at emails, and it's looking at the context of the prompt, everything I have access to, and it's then going to spit us back a response, right? And again, you're going from an idea to something that is potentially usable, right? All of this is now coming back to us. So now, let's say, for example, you've been asked by the CEO, you're the person responsible for all of this type of stuff. Now, instead of having to think stuff up, you can look at this, you can review it yourself. You can go, actually, I like the look of some of these. I'm going to take this one, I'm going to take that one, I'm going to take this one, I'm going to take that one. And off you go. So you can see how quickly ideas can start to come to life. You will also notice that the same experience we had in the web version also is expressing itself here, right? So you can see it's come back with all of that. It's now finished. And then it's offering, which offline games do you recommend? Tell me more about virtual cooking classes. You can drill down into it, and it's suggesting you more. And it's going to give you that information because people generally tend to look for context, right? If I toggle into web, here's a really, really clever tool. A lot of the time we get asked for images, right? So create an image of a future office space to help me visualize design mood board. Now, you can be very specific with this, right? You could say, I want it to be realistic. I want it to be cartoony. So we're going to say use realistic modern office look. Now, I've asked it to create an image It is going to send that prompt to the LLM. And even though I'm interacting with a large language model, it also has the ability to connect to something called DALL-E, which is an image generator. So you can convert your text to images. So you can see now it's having a little think. A little image is about to pop up here. It's going to start to generate our image, and generally it responds with 4 sample images. Anybody that's in marketing or visualization, so for example, here we are, look, Jesus, that's very futuristic, isn't it?
Futuristic, Vito.
Yeah, right. You can see here on demo with you in Tim. You can see how useful this is, right? Now you've got something, you can take this into a mood board, you can download, you can copy, you can paste. Let's just get rid of this little fella. And I don't even have to go in and out. I can toggle between the 4 here, right? And you can see what it's done. I've created loads of little images. Even if you're doing presentations and you want to create friendly images, you can do all of that. So really, really clever, quite powerful. I was in with a design house who said to me they create mood boards to help customers visualize what their offices would look like. And they started to play with this and they were blown away by it. They said it has accelerated their time to be able to show people the idea and a concept. And again, you're not under copyright infringement. You're not downloading, do I have the rights to do X, Y, and Z? You can see how powerful it is. Let me just jump back here very quickly. I'm going to open up this. And what we had was we had a chat. We asked it to generate the summary. So I'm going to ask it to do it again. By clicking on this, there it is. There's the history of what we've already generated. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how I can jump now into, so this is interesting information, right? And in my job role, I might want to work with marketing to create a blog about this, to highlight it to my partners. And I also might want to create a little presentation to do a webinar. So I'm going to take this summary. I'm now going to jump here into Word, and you can see here Copilot's appearing. And here I'm going to say, help me draft a blog to my MSP community. Again, I'm giving it context as to who I want to write it to. Okay, using this information, I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to say Shift Enter, and then I'm going to say bang, and I'm going to say generate. Now you can see I can also reference any files here, or if I want to come up here, I can simply type / and I can say partner, and I can add in whatever I want, right? Doesn't matter. All I need to know is the file name. But in this case, I'm not going to. And I'm going to ask it to generate me a blog. And it's going to go and do that. So it's going to go and generate this blog. And you can see how quickly, again, we've gone from, I've just read this. I think this is really important information. I now need to create a set of comms around this. And I want to go from a blank page to content I could potentially use, right? This is fantastic. I'm going to just close up the summary page there while this is generating. It's pulling together the blog here for us. It's highlighting everything I wanted to do based on the information I've given it. It will take a couple of seconds to run through this. You can see we're already at 247 words. I'm doing this obviously in web because to do this in my full fat client while running a webinar, that's just a little bit of strain on my internet, but this does work inside of Office. You don't need to be in the web portal like I am here today. You can see it's dragged in the links. That's grand. I can clean all of that up, tidy it all up. I'm going to keep that. Absolutely fantastic. And what I'm now going to do is I'm just going to name this document sample partner announcement, and that's going to be saved into my documents, which is great. Now I can change the location, as you'll see here. If I change the location very quickly, I'll just go to Copilot demo content and I will move it to there, which is great. That's now moved. Happy days, saved. Now what I can do is I can now take this, because I have it, I can copy the link to this particular file. That's now copied. I can now jump into here, because what's ultimately going to happen is my bosses are going to turn around and say, well, look, that's a great blog, but we're still going to get asked questions. We need to create a webinar. Not a problem. I now need a slide deck. And what I'm now going to do is, using the document and the blog we've just created, just written, I'm now going to say, create a presentation from this file. And I'm going to simply Control V, paste it in, and I'm going to click Start. And again, what it's now going to do is it's now going to start to look at the content I've given it. It's in context. I now want a presentation to be created from that file. That could be a sales quotation. It could be a product brief, it could be a press release, it could be absolutely any document that you use in a day-to-day. And what it's showing here is it's outlining what the presentation is going to look at. It's suggesting it's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements of it. It's now generating the slides, and as you can see, it's also adding speaker notes.
Yeah.
Right. Really, really impressive, really, really powerful. And it's dropping all of that in there. And there we go. And now it's created this deck. Now, if I don't like the look of it, you can see it's telling me here, just use Designer to start tweaking the look and feel of this. And again, now we're plugging into another element of AI where I can start looking through here and go, okay, I want to see more designs. I can search for more things. I maybe want to just say, for example, Microsoft. Let's have a look at what type of images. Let's insert that. It will insert this, and then it will rejig based on what we've just inserted. So you can now see it's completely redesigning everything for us. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to come down to here. It's now going to generate me another idea, and I can very quickly get to a level of, I like the look of this. That's the one I want. And it's now doing all of this in real time. And again, you've gone from nothing to having a potentially usable presentation in the space of a couple of minutes. Jumping back into the chat element, one final thing I will show. If you're the type of individual that has to do a lot of comparisons, documents, etc., here's a great little tip, and anybody in HR will absolutely light up like a Christmas tree when you show this to them. Compare / sample job spec. So again, I know the file name. I'm going to toggle into file. I'm going to say sample job customer service with sample Eric should be, oh, I didn't put / sorry, / sample CV. We should have Eric Cartman. Yep, great. And score the candidate's suitability out of 10 for the role. I am now asking the AI to look at the job spec we've published and look at a CV we've received. Now, you can do this with up to 5 files simultaneously. So that means you could have 4 CVs clashed against the job spec in little batches. And when I do that, it's going to look at the job spec, it's going to look at the CV that has been provided, and I've asked it to score it out of 10. Because in my head, if some candidate is less than 7, I'm just going to send them a thanks for your application, but you're not a fit for the role message. If somebody is a 7 or higher, I'm more than likely going to move to a Microsoft Teams meeting with them so that I can meet them and record the session and then use Copilot to go back over the session and ask questions. But as you can see, it's had a look at the job specs and this person's individual skills, and it's come back. I'm talking, I just need to move. It's come back here saying, I'd rate the suitability of the candidate 8 out of 10. So immediately, and it's highlighting, they're not a perfect 10 because they have an explicit lack of SAP experience, which we asked for. However, track record suggests he could quickly adapt. This guy's worth a call.
None of us are a perfect 10, Guido.
No, absolutely not. As much as we desperately try to. These are just some very, hopefully, quick and useful kind of examples of how you can use the Copilot platform in your day-to-day. I know I've run a little over, Shane. I'm very sorry for that.
Not at all, Guido. Absolutely fantastic stuff, and I'm sure people were already more than happy to turn it over on us. Really appreciate your time today for joining us for this. Really got into the weeds there on Copilot. So hopefully that gets people's heads thinking about it. And it is one of those technology, as you said, like there's going to be a ramp up for it. It's going to get embedded. It's going to become more ubiquitous out there. So, you know, it is the iPhone moment for Microsoft, as you say.
I think so. And again, my ask to customers is that they speak with their partners. Don't just jump into this without having the conversation with your partner. Take the time to understand how you're going to approach it so that you see the value in it, because I do believe those that unlock it early will start to get an early advantage. There's no question about it.
Right, thanks, Guido. Just a reminder to folks, if my thing works. So we did have a competition running for the webinar series. So if you've attended all 3 of the webinars, you are in the draw. The winner will be announced in the coming weeks when we can get the draw organized. So watch out on our social media presence for that. And thank you for attending the last in our webinar series. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Ask the Expert at enterprise-solutions.ie. Thank you to Guido for giving us your valuable time today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the day, everyone.